Okay. Um, Nathan, were you able to get onto the Google Doc then?
I let me check again. I
Okay.
know I went on earlier to start working on some of it.
I saw your updated email, so hopefully it works now.
Okay. Oh, that's right. I'm using. I have like three different Google accounts on my thing. I okay. Yes, I have. I
Okay.
have access now.
All right. So, um, I can pull it up on here, or we can just work on the live document. Are you guys okay if we just work on the document?
Yeah, I think the live document's good.
Good.
Okay, so we'll jump over there. All right. So I started just laying out because I knew it would be kind of a lot of ground to cover. So I started just filling in some of the information on the doc.
Okay.
So let's go on the agenda doc.
Okay.
Or wait, no, the group assignment, the long one. The one that's
Yeah,
like,
the agenda. It's a named agenda, but then the header says group assignment.
yes, okay. Yep, yep.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Okay, so the agenda is the actual assignment.
well,
It's our talking points.
yeah, it'll
And
give us
then,
the information to complete the assignment.
Okay.
yeah.
Gotcha.
All right, so I just wanted to do the business model framework and just kind of lay out all of those. So it's asking for strengths or what's working and then the weaknesses. So what's not working.
Okay.
Okay. And we're gonna go over the plastic first,
Yeah,
correct?
let's do the plastics first.
Okay.
Um, so what I had was what we can see there. So the values proposition, they sold outdoor plastic chairs made out of recycled plastic. And then you guys, if anything else stands out, then just add it on there. But
I'm
I
gonna.
think the other thing that they mentioned was the quality.
Oh
Nathan, were you just about to add that?
no, I was gonna put options.
Yeah, the color options.
Yep, color and style options. I think they had 15 colors and 20 different styles.
I thought it was more like 50 colors.
Mm, maybe I wrote it down. I had 15 colors
I had,
and 20 different style designs. I may
Okay.
be wrong.
I got pregnancy brain. So 15 different colors, 20 different designs.
designs. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Okay.
The number 50 does appear in that paragraph, but it's
Yeah,
50% of sales.
just later. Okay. Yeah, so they're more about differentiation versus cost effectiveness.
Yeah. And that was one thing that they kind of success in the industry that they said this only successful companies in Canada other than the insourcing had to be, fast, custom, stylish. So they're kind of meeting that need there.
Yeah. So I feel like they do have, and when you look at the financials, they are experiencing growth. So they are meeting a demand.
Hmm.
And the fact that they have so many knockoffs,
Mm.
there's so many companies copying them and their designs. And yeah, I think
So
that's,
is that considered a weakness? Or probably more of like a risk, huh?
yeah, that would be, uh, well, maybe that would be like a weakness gap is how they can remain competitive with the other companies.
We could just put very competitive marketplace. I think that, that covers. in such competitive marketplace, people are going to copy something if it gets successful.
Yeah, their advantage is that they were first, so that
Mhm.
gives them some advantage, but they have to, in that scenario, I feel like you have to work really hard to maintain and not completely lose market share.
Mhm.
Let me go back to the case study in my notes.
Okay. Go to market plan. What did I?
Did it give us a
Feel-
lot of history on their market strategy?
think
Not very detailed that I could see. I mean, I just kind of copied stuff from the case that it says, like their mission, uh,
Mhm.
and then it just talks a little bit about their history, but it doesn't like.
I feel like maybe the only thing they mention is potential partnership with stores, and this specifically mentions Costco, so potential partnership with Costco, which would be part of their go-to-market strategy.
I was confused by that part. Did it say that Costco was looking into it only to do it for themselves, or they're looking to partner with that company? I was kind of confused by that
Go back to it.
because I have it noted on my side, but I like didn't know. I guess I just didn't
It
know.
feels
I
like,
mean,
yeah, it felt like it was just like Costco had been looking at adding a few more popular products.
Yeah.
They operate on much lower margins, so its buying power could represent a significant change. So it doesn't really say if they got into that or if they just like it was just an idea. It doesn't really say.
It's a
okay.
potential.
So it's potential, I guess. It could be part of their, strategy going forward, possibly. But
Yeah, the buying power part, I felt like that's what like indicated to me that it's like, oh, that'd be like a partnership where they would bring the products into Costco.
Mhm.
And I'm pretty sure I've seen these recycled plastic Adirondack chairs at Costco, and I've looked at them before. So I wonder if it's the same brand.
mhm.
That'd be kind of cool. Okay. I also put in the go to market possible investment partner in the Dragon's Den. I think that's part of
Yeah.
the go to market is all the
Yep.
investors.
So even
Um,
though it's not super clear, what they have been doing has been effective because they are getting the sales. I was looking to see if the financial exhibit included like a marketing budget or something. Doesn't look like it.
it's like selling general and administrative.
Okay, there it is. Yeah.
So yeah,
Exhibit one. I was on the
marketing.
later ones. They are doing some marketing. Um, yeah, the fact that they're increasing sales is like what they're currently doing is working.
hmm
I guess that's yeah, that's right.
I guess on the TOM, it's the strategy they're using is like, um,
It's all in house.
yeah, in-house. Um,
I thought the pellets came from out of like sourcing the pellets themselves.
Yeah, that and like I'm assuming like the colors, but they're
Okay.
everything else. Like once they get the pellets and the color, like they're doing everything.
Okay.
And I feel like that's been part of their problem. So it's more of like a weakness right now is there's the question over like should they be outsourcing more because they're struggling.
To meet.
Um, struggling with their operational costs, I think is what he was trying to lower the cost of goods sold. So it sounds like it just costs a lot of money to produce the products.
Materials.
I don't think it's materials. I
Is
bet you
it the labor?
it's the labor, especially with the current model that they have where they bring on the seasonal workers to add the second and third shifts. I'm assuming that it's similar to in the US. And when you are working second, third shifts, you make more money. You get
Yeah,
paid more because
more
it's in like
labor,
especially third shift.
but you
where
lose the almost like the um continuity or
Yeah, you
the
mentioned the extra waste.
well, it gets away from you unless you have like a solid manager. Like
Yeah.
that's hard too.
Yeah, I mean, especially you look at the years of 2007 and 2008. If you actually look at the percentages of the cost of good to sales, it's like 77% or something crazy. And that's why those 2 years they just absolutely got wrecked in their net income, is just because their cost of goods was just 15 to 20% higher than what it should have been. Just kind of crazy.
Mm. All right, so the cash flow.
I feel like cash flow is their number one issue and kind of their cost management. The fact that he's relying on, is it normal for companies to, like, I want to say it's not normal for companies to have to rely heavily on loans and investment dollars to survive year over year. And the other thing I was like questioning too was I was surprised that I wish they talked more about the machinery that he was looking into because he kept on bringing that up and like the cost associated to needing new equipment.
It
Mhm.
kind of gave a roundabout cost of it. It didn't give it directly, but in then like one of the paragraphs it said if you do the other option, it avoids the $550,000 cost of new equipment using the load sharing or
Load leveling.
Total
load
level.
level.
Well, maybe like the new equipment is that if they're going to be doing larger volumes, then they
Uh-huh.
need additional.
Yeah, I think that's what it was talking about.
Okay, I had it in my brain that it was like maybe like newer machines or replacing them. And I would say that from other business classes I've taken where it talks about manufacturing, when you are doing like the 3 shifts, it's a lot, it wears down the machines a lot faster and you need more maintenance and you might need to replace them sooner.
Mm.
So I think that's why my brain went in that direction where it was like, oh, yeah, leveling load would allow them not to only save the 550 they need to invest in new equipment, but also lower his operating cost and improve his cost of goods sold. The new machinery would cost $16,000 a month for depreciation and maintenance and other operating costs.
Yeah. I don't know how common it is because it makes sense that the more you sell, the more machines you're gonna have to like to keep up with the demand. Like you have to invest into more machines. The machines can only produce as much as they can produce.
Yep. But there's risks in that leveling load approach too, because that means that they're going to be carrying a lot of inventory on the down months.
Yep.
So that's something to consider.
All right, so let's get some weaknesses. Let's go up to the weaknesses in the elements of the business model. Let's list a couple of under each of those. So it looks like we got some information on the positives, like what's currently happening. So let's list out some of those weaknesses. So let's see, on the CVP,
It's a competition. So a lot of low cost competition in the market.
Yep. And also Canada is at the point where they're, what did it say, importers and not exporters of furniture.
Yeah, their currency is higher, worth more right now, or when this case study is referencing. So piecing together from all my classes, my econ class, your value of the currency goes up, exports go down, imports go up. So that's where, so I wonder if they didn't include a forecast year. So it doesn't include what they think. Well, it does. Exhibit 5. Maybe. They're not exporting as much, so that's going to hurt their sales.
Okay.
Go to market.
Yeah, can you summarize? I think that should go under the go to market under the import export.
Yeah, so how are they going to strengthen their how are they going to remain competitive with the reduction of exports?
Canadian import exports, or just in general?
Well, what they're facing is like other countries are going to be less likely to buy because since the Canadian dollar's worth more, it's going to cost them more. And then they're more likely to import the less expensive products,
right?
Competitor products. I think that might play into the Tom as well, because we already talked about it, like how they outsource the materials, but then they do everything in-house. And that is how they've been able to maintain quality. However,
That
should they
also
be,
kills the cost of good.
yeah, should they be outsourcing? So that could be like a third option because they present the two options.
Could also put on the Tom just it's a high cost of scaling, because then they are going to have to buy that expensive equipment if they want to scale up and do the
Yep.
second, third shifts.
So it would be cheaper for them potentially to outsource versus. And TRD expressed concerns about carrying the debt. So he still has the debt from the prior year. So that's why I was like, I don't think this is normal, like to keep on, his debt is building.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, we're not chipping away at it. If the sales are increasing that much, it should be chipping away. instead of just sucking it all back in. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, the interest expense has almost tripled over the past 4 years.
Not good.
Not good.
Yeah. So apparently just paying the minimum.
Mhm. Over the last 3 years. 4 years? What did you say? 3 years?
4 years.
4 years. Okay.
Nope.
Yeah, it sounds like how he operates, and that's like definitely a huge weakness is the that cash flow.
Yeah.
The fact that like every year they basically have to use the credit line.
Mm,
That's never good to max out a credit card.
yeah.
Not good
Well,
policy.
and on the sources he was saying was a credit line, company credit card, and then his personal money.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah, it's a lot. So how they're so that's like an interesting thing about like how can they, because in a business model like this where they have a high season and a low season, how do they manage that both from a production perspective and a cash flow perspective so that it's like to minimize the risk. So the risk of going into further debt and the risk of carrying a lot of inventory because then your money's tied in the inventory.
Especially when your business relies on being customizable and in season and fashion.
Yeah. Well, that's where like a partnership with Costco would be valuable because that's less customizable and because they would likely pick two colors at the most and
Mhm.
likely just the Adirondack chairs.
Yeah, I think that that should be a like a risk or a lean startup, just scale down the variety and just get real good at the one thing and then do that thing.
Yeah, because the chairs were what, 50% of the business
Add her up.
or the
Yeah,
sales?
yes, 50%.
And I mean, like the current, it's true. So they have 20 different options and they're using molds. So depending on how their factory is laid out,
Mhm.
that could take a long time to retool the machines for the various molds when they switch over to a different design.
Well, that could be like a customer values like the proposition because it's like you're kind of talking about two different things there. So we either go for like new designs and creative, like lots of selection, or we're really good at this one thing and we just like crank them out, like Chick-fil-A. It just chicken sandwiches or In-N-Out probably is better. Just
Yeah.
get real good at
Well,
that one
and I
thing.
feel like they do try to do that too, and they are using some lean practices on the because they do mention that at the end of each year they assess and they drop designs and colors that are
Mhm.
not popular. So they do that annual assessment to um,
See what's working and what's not.
yeah, that
Okay.
customer feedback.
So,
Okay.
okay, I think that's good. Are we good on the weaknesses?
Hmm.
Okay, so let's jump down. I pulled when it's I'm at the part where it says what are the major problems confronting the company at the time of the case. I pulled these right from the like the inside of the press. So we
Yeah,
don't
so cash flow issues, maintaining market share,
I'm gonna put in there.
the reducing the cost per
Yep, cost of goods
product.
sold.
Yeah,
yeah,
cost of goods sold.
go
I'm
ahead.
like, what is that phrase?
COGS.
Yep.
So Natalie, the bullet you're writing, I feel like is connected to the first one about with the lender. They're connected. They wouldn't need the lender to extend the credit line or like provide them financing if they had better cash flow. Or the bank would actually approve it.
Oh, so that should go on like the root cause.
No, just the bullet, because of limited income and willingness on the part of the company's lender to finance further growth. They can no longer expand. So the cash flow issue is I'm just saying it's connected. Those two things are connected.
Oh, okay, yeah. So should I word it differently or is it just?
You could probably leave it as is.
Um, Okay, what are the root causes? Thanks for putting the numbers in there, Nathan.
Very
Yep.
helpful.
Okay, what are the root causes of why this company is facing these problems?
I feel like we kind of talked about one of them, which is just the nature of the business. So you have like from October to January, they're barely selling anything, and then it starts to pick up February, March, April. And then they have their peak time from April until August, and then it drops off again in September. So it's kind of like what's the right word? It's inconsistent. Like the demand is inconsistent over the year.
Could also say poor cost control methods in place. Because it seems like there's those years where cost of goods sold just skyrocketed. Seemed like they were doing good some years, and then other years they're just garbage.
Yeah, it's trying to figure out exactly where. And I mean, like there is mention about when they talked about the leveling, where it would
Mhm.
save money. So it sounds like there is waste. Because when they have their seasonal, not as experienced workers,
Yeah,
they're
I think it's
making
all it.
mistake. Yeah,
Yep.
making mistakes and there's more waste. But I was
Well,
trying to
it said load leveling would drop at 1.2% of total sales. The COGS. So that's that waste that it would be increased if they did the load leveling. I think that's what you're talking about. Yeah.
said operating expenses would drop by an additional 135,000 as he would not need to go through there's the hiring and training for the second and third shifts.
35.
Yeah, and then at the end of that paragraph is the 1.2% of sales would reduce its total cost. And that's like a starting point, right? So like that's like as soon as they make the switch, then they would see that happen, ideally.
And that's a hopefully.
Hopefully it should.
Yeah, that's a hopefully. That one.
So what actions can they take? Load leveling? Or what was it called?
Level loading.
Loading. Hold on.
Level loading, yeah.
Um,
I feel like sometimes they say level loading and it's like loading,
I don't know.
leveling load.
Yeah, I know. 1.2%? Is that what it was?
1.2% reduced, yeah, the COGS by 1.2. and then decrease operational expenses by 135,000. And that says total or the overall operating expenses. So that's not per day. So that's like total. And then, but then it's also the $16,000 per month for depreciation, maintenance, and other operational costs if they had to buy the new machinery, which they wouldn't need if they did the level loading.
Right, so the 550,000.
Yes, but that's only, I don't know, should we put that in this section? Oh, I guess. Well,
Or just describing like the outcomes of like
yeah,
if they
yeah,
did
yeah.
it. So we're
Of
just
that
collecting
option.
information.
Mhm.
They should pursue a partnership with Costco, I think.
Mhm.
And I feel like if they were doing these things, they wouldn't need to go on Dragon's Den, right? Because if they're not going to need new machinery, they're not going to need a pile of money
I think they
potentially.
would probably get better terms with the Dragon Den than they are going to be with the credit card company. But maybe that's just me.
Yeah, but Dragon's Den, they usually he's going to lose equity.
That's true. 30% is what he was saying.
Yeah, he's willing to go up to 30%. And I feel like I'm like, I believe this is called Shark's Tank. But it really depends on like the offer because sometimes I feel like it's a risk. I mean, it's a risk anytime you have a venture capitalist come in and the impact that they could have.
And you don't know what exactly they're going to want to take.
Yeah. But I mean, maybe he should still consider it because they have they have a pile of debt that they need to take care of.
Yep. And that's, again, has tripled in the last 4 years per year that they have to pay. And they're continuing to max out and then
Yeah.
raise it to 500,000.
But I feel like that's like this is why the bank is declining them. And I feel like going on that show, he's not going to get favorable terms because they're going to ask the same questions. Like, why do you have to run off credit? Why do you have to keep on like why are the debts increasing when your sales are like there's like something's not adding up here.
Yeah. I just think they've kind of just tried to scale too fast. I think in both of these case studies, they just trying to
Yeah.
scale too fast.
Common problem.
Yeah.
Yep. Avoid Dragon's Den. So is
But it
that
might be like it doesn't hurt to go and get an offer and then make a decision whether or not to take it.
It's true.
They
yeah.
could end up offering him decent terms and expertise on helping him to scale more effectively.
No. Which, to be honest, they also bring in experience. They bring in contacts. They may be able to help him get a deal with Costco that
Yeah.
Yeah.
can end up saving them.
But I feel like that only is worth it if the terms are right. Because I think there are Shark Tanks where I see like I'm like, don't accept that. They're trying to get controlling interest. You're gonna lose complete control of your company.
Yep. I think that'd just be so sad. I watched some of those too, and I'm like, what did you just putting your heart and soul into this, and somebody just comes along and just rips it apart just to make a couple extra bucks. Oh,
Well, that's not their first time experiencing that. They're on Shark Tank because they've gone to a lot of different places and
yeah,
haven't
sure.
gotten what they needed. So yeah. Okay. I feel like there was like another thing of like potential actions.
I mean, mm, they could potentially just buy the equipment and do that route. I just don't think that's the right route. I think the
Mm-mm.
level loading is the way to go.
least for now. Oh, outsourcing.
Oh yeah.
They should not like for sure do outsourcing, but they should at least do a analysis on if outsourcing is feasible for them
Yep.
instead of,
Options.
yeah. And the news about, I feel like the upside of outsourcing is that they could keep their normal operations, their normal shifts, and then just have the outsourcing during the peak time.
Mhm.
But they'd have to, like, all outsourcing, keep an eye on that quality. So that's like the risk of them outsourcing is losing.
Which is one of their biggest areas they've struggled in, is keeping consistent
Yeah.
operating costs as well as cost of goods sold. So
Yep.
I think that's their biggest issue in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think this level
Okay.
loading is
So what problems can we predict as management attempts to implement these actions?
We already talked about quality control, so I think that's a big one.
pushback from personnel, especially the summer laborers. Not that it really matter. They're just college students.
Yeah, I'd be less concerned about that.
Yeah, they're probably not the same.
Well, could be pushback also from the community because I'm sure that helps out a
Pretty good
lot.
jobs, right? Yeah.
I wonder if they would have any problems increasing the staff numbers year round. So how big is the community and is it enough without the students to do the level loading?
To support that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oops, sorry, Nathan, I kicked you
Oh,
into
you're
the.
fine. I've been doing it this whole time, so not a problem. Okay.
Mhm.
Another risk would be if they do the Dragon's Den is losing control over their company.
Or unfavorable terms.
Yep.
One risk of the level loading is, I would think, reaching and exceeding the loan amounts and the credit limits with all the leftover inventory. They
Yeah.
run out of capital, running capital,
Mhm.
Working capital.
working capital. Yeah, that's the word. Running out of working capital.
Okay. So it's basically what we talked about is like if
Yeah.
they're building up, like all their money's going to be tied up.
Yep.
I mean, it's it's like half the year. There's a slump in sales.
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's basically half of the year.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to just jump in because I have to go to another group meeting that starts here shortly. Hey, just a couple of things that I really like that I wanted to bring up. I loved how you all are working on the doc and you could see it. And talking about the business model framework, I sat in on a group yesterday and they were just all over the place and then started to go up down rabbit holes because they weren't looking at that business model framework on each part. So I loved how you all did that with Sierra Plastics and referencing financials and things from the case Really good questions. I know it's a good group if people are asking the questions. And so I think you all work really well together. You should all, after this class, start a consultancy or somewhere down the road. I like it. One thing I wanted to point out about the financials for CR Plastic, do you mind, can you allow me to share a screen, Natalie?
Sure.
Please. Thanks. And some of you may be aware of this, but I just wanted to be very clear because it's a little tricky. So another student asked me, well, they're making money, which you can see down here. There's a couple, 3 months where they don't make money, but then they're making a lot of money, like out here in April. How can they make money, but they need cash? Well, and Natalie, you may be aware of this a little bit because of your grocery store, but when you're buying stuff, especially seasonally, you have to use a lot of cash. So you can see they start just under $1 million in inventory, and think of inventory as trapped cash. You've already bought it, it's sitting on the shelf, and you're not selling it, so it's just money just sitting there you can't do anything with. That's how you sell it. So they grow this all the way up to 1.335. So about $450,000 they're stuck in the business. Another thing is accounts receivable. So they're selling to some big retailers, and especially if they sell to Costco, which generally some of those big retailers, they won't pay you for 2 or 3 months. So what accounts receivable means is these are companies that owe them. So you can see someone paid off a lot and then start at 545,000, and then all the way up here, 2.3 million, about 9 months later. So huge increase, 1.8 million that they have to fund somehow, that they're not getting paid. That's where working capital comes in. So they need to just manage it. So that's why he's raising cash. Whenever there's a growing business, like you see here, where they're growing 40% in units, you need cash. And that's why. I'll tell you what happened with CR Plastics. So they did go on this Dragon's Den. He got it, didn't get as much as he wanted, but he did get money. But then right after, the bank heard about this and said, oh, don't worry about that. We will lend you the money. And so that's what happened. And the business did okay. One thing that they did require is that he find a good operations person to run the operations. Because you all highlighted TOM is a big issue in this case, as well as the next case. But I don't like it when students say, oh, just hire someone to fix it. Because that means there's something deeper issue with, and that may be part of the solution, but there's something in the business that's wrong. So
Well, you also need to figure out who to hire.
yeah, and that can be tricky, as you all saw in my video. It's hard to hire sometimes good people. Natalie, you probably have experienced this in groceries. So yeah. It's the hardest part of my job when we have to hire somebody. Well, second, the hardest part is firing.
Not always. Always.
Some good stories.
I have one quick question though. Their inventory levels, shouldn't it? I don't know if this is different from other retailers. I just know groceries, but we try to keep our inventory about level, like inventory on hand, so it shouldn't fluctuate as much.
So that's why he's thinking, good point. That's why he's thinking about doing level loading, so it won't fluctuate as much. Well, excuse me. That's why I said that in reverse. In level loading, he will build up a lot of inventory because he's building up a lot here in the down months. And then what he would like to do is keep, exactly like you said, keep the inventory flat so he doesn't have to really raise additional money to try to fund buying more inventory before it sells. Good point. So if if they get better at that second and third shift, they can ideally lower inventory. Now, he hasn't shown being able to do that, as you can see here. But he just has some built up. So good question. I know you haven't talked about the other case yet, but that's a fascinating one. I still am amazed that we almost went with electric vehicles in the US, at least at the turn of the century. It was really close. What's really cool about that demonstrates product market fit. So there was a good product. Well, at that point, it was a good product. and there's a market that wanted it. He talked about having demand that was built up, and in the case, it talks about how they're making money, operating profit. So I won't go too much into it. There's a lot of issues in the case, and so what happened? So the case where Mead needs to make a decision. It's 1904. 3 years later, they went out of business, and part of it was so it's really a cab. It's not really an electric vehicle company. It's a taxi cab company. That's what they were trying to create. They weren't trying to sell vehicles. They were trying to taxi cab, like an Uber almost. And so they're having trouble with electric vehicles with all the issues with TOM. And then they started trying to do gas vehicles as well. And at that time, the technology was at the same place. So it only complicated issues. The case doesn't talk about that with them really adding gas consumption vehicles just right after this. But so 3 years later, they went bankrupt. Another thing that Whitney did wrong, which you noticed in the case, I mean, he turned public when he bought the company, public perception against him, just really bad.
Well,
When
that
he
was the
made-
time of monopolies. He was trying to create a whole.
Yeah.
I was like, holy smokes, he bought everything.
Yeah. Sometimes you think Elon Musk tries to do this sometimes, but
Yeah.
Anyway, but the product was really there. So, last thing, case essays. Generally, reach out to me if you have any questions. My video in week 4, I talk about some of the big misses. I did like how people were using numbers in their cases. Really good. So, but if you have concerns, you're like, Brother Gobranson, I don't get this comment. Just reach out to me, please. I don't want anybody to suffer. And everyone does much better in the next couple of cases. Our essays. Any questions for me at all? No?
For me. Nope.
Okay, well, I'll let you keep on going. I know you really didn't have a choice, but thanks for letting me join your call. I really like your group. All right.
Thank
See
you.
y'all.
Have a good
Bye.
night.
We could probably move really quick through the next one. And thankfully, the actual group assignment is like 3 questions, right?
Yeah. I had more filled out on the next one. So
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, now I messed up the whole thing.
Okay. Are you ready to switch over to electric
let's
vehicle?
switch over. Yep.
Okay.
I'll be a second behind. I just gotta pull everything up for that case.
Yeah,
study.
because really we just need to get the information to incorporate into the assignment.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm like, God dang it, he's here on this. Gotta talk through all the questions.
but it'll make
So-
the other part go a lot better. So the more detail we can get on this one, we can just transfer it over. So
Yeah. Service.
okay, so these are the ones I pulled from the case. Just put my pad a little better.
I found it interesting that they did short and long term.
Yeah, it's like it is exactly like Uber. It's like all the Ubers that are sitting out after a concert or a game or something, and then they would do like a day rental. So it's like a limousine company plus.
It was really surprising to read about this, like to think that it was early 1900s and
I didn't even
mean-
know it was a thing. I didn't even know they had that technology.
I thought this was like a fake made up thing for a while, and I actually Googled it. I'm like, wow, that's actually real. What the heck?
Well, I mean, like there was a taxi service in existence with horses and carriages. So there was like, it's not like it started from scratch. So they already knew that there was a demand or a need.
Mhm.
And I remember hearing about like how awful, like how gross and smelly New York was because the number of horses and carriages.
Yep.
So there was definitely a need to find a different way to reduce the amount of manure. in the city.
Well,
Okay,
it doesn't,
so
yeah, it doesn't sound like it would be, he was saying it would have been the same problem with gas. It was like they have the same issues because the roads are still bad. The,
the roads are still bad.
Mhm.
I remember reading in the case study, people were still concerned about the pollution from the gas because it was smelly.
Mhm.
And it's going to be different from like the emissions of our cars. It's
true, yeah.
going to be a lot more crude and probably a lot more black smoke. Okay, so ultimately the question that we have to answer in the assignment is, was EVC a good opportunity, and explain your answer with specific detail to support your decision. So we just need to decide like whether or not it was a good idea and then
Mhm.
explain and then defend it.
So on the pre thing, um, the case prep, I said it would have been a good idea pre 19 whatever it was when Whitney came in, because I think he just kind of messed things up in a bad way.
I feel like they still would have had the same challenges though, even without Whitney. There were things that they weren't, because Whitney went crazy. Like,
Yeah,
like expand, like I'm not shocked that it went out of business because he spent all his money.
yeah.
And also,
But yeah,
obviously, there's the huge issue of they were not prepared and the technology wasn't prepared
yeah,
to
the technology wasn't quite ready yet.
it just
Mhm.
wasn't ready to scale.
Yeah, when it mentioned that before Whitney, that they were basically trying to just buy as many electric cars as possible. So then they were buying them from different manufacturers. So then you have all these, like from an operations standpoint, that's a nightmare. So like that means like different sets of parts, different knowledge sets to provide the maintenance. And it was really interesting to read about like the different batteries they were using,
Different tires, they had to
different
use
tires.
different tires and manufacturers because they were so heavy. Really interesting.
Yeah, it was very, very interesting. So I don't necessarily feel like it was they were successful when they were small scale and they were meeting the need of the New York market. But as soon as like the issue that they had was that when they tried to expand in other markets, they just duplicated what worked well in New York, but that didn't meet the local market need.
So I guess because it's like how I want to answer the question is like it was a good idea, it just wasn't executed right. But I don't think we can answer it that way.
No, I mean, like we can, but it's just like adding more detail. So it's saying like the concept itself there was the need. So it's going through all the framework items and saying that like it was a good idea for these reasons, but it failed for these reasons.
Okay.
Mhm.
So let's answer it like that. Yeah.
And I think like probably finishing it off of like it failed for these reasons, and this is what they should have done instead.
Yep.
I can finesse the language of it a little bit better, but well, I just want to get the reasons down. Okay. Oops.
Sorry, my bad.
No, you go ahead. You can start hitting up the failed reasons.
Okay. I'm just gonna go copy. God, I did that. Oh, okay.
Um,
Oh, we were on the same page.
Oh,
That's okay. Because when I was reading it, Mike, going back to like the different vehicles, they should have made a partnership with one manufacturer for them to just produce for them. And like, if you bought the company, fine. But why buy one? Don't buy them all. Was it the New Jersey city that had the problem with that they talked about specifically about the power grid?
It talked about New Jersey, but it said that each one of them had issues with it.
Yeah.
How would you guys say the? I mean, one of the big reasons was in the end the drivers just said, "No, you guys are gypping us."
Yeah.
Would you say
The
there's
risk.
no fair way to compensate drivers?
They
No.
couldn't, they
I
couldn't,
feel like that's like an oversimplification because what they found was like the drivers were stealing money.
right.
Yeah.
They couldn't control there wasn't a way to track it or control the
I
payment.
mean, that stuff still happens nowadays for like taxis. They could turn off the meter and just take the money. It's harder, but
Yeah. But it's yeah, it definitely was part of the problem because then they kind of punished everyone by cutting their wages. So it made them probably want to do it even more.
yeah,
And
probably
then they
exact.
striked, so that
Yeah. What did they call the place where they went to get maintenance and charge batteries?
service centers. What do they call those?
Because that was like something smart that they did was to locate those in close to high traffic areas so that they can. Places they call them charging stations.
Yeah. This included the world's largest charging station for electric vehicles on 8th Avenue in New York.
Yeah.
Charging station.
Okay.
Yeah, it's mentioned several times. Have you been, do you live in the city now, Nathan, or is it outside of?
We're still living outside the city, but had to drive through Cleveland and Albany to get here, and it was horrible.
I lived in Cleveland for 2 years. It was horrible. It's a
I'm
wreck.
gonna be honest, I haven't seen that bad of driving and just traffic. That was bad.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, in the summertime, Cleveland was lovely. We lived in the Kirtland area, and it was spring and, well, yeah, winter was dreadful, but all the other seasons were lovely.
Yeah,
Some
the
of those-
areas up here are just gorgeous.
Some
We're
of
right
those,
next to a lake. It's awesome.
that's cool. Some of those streets, though, are terrifying. If you could turn down the wrong road, it's bad news.
Yeah, and I'm driving around a dually right now. It is not good for New York streets.
What's a dually?
It's the big ones with four
big
tires
truck.
on the back
Oh,
that
yeah.
have a horrible turn radius.
Yeah, that's not good for city driving.
No. No. I'm just scared I'm gonna go down a one way and then with these tight sides not be able to get out.
I can't believe driving in the city, like how close people get, and then they just function like a regular day. Like they're just driving these like huge trucks, and they pull out these pallets, and they're just like inches from cars. I'm like, oh, it's so shocking.
Crazy.
Definitely agree on that. Okay. I think once we get some notes in here, like finish getting some notes, if we take the same approach as we had before, which everybody takes
Yeah,
apart and then like does the cleanup and then do a review.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's already 8:15 for me and 9:15 for you.
yeah. No, I'm fine with that. We can each take a little bit. Um, we don't have to put that. I put the pros and cons list on the one above. We don't have to
Okay.
include that.
I feel like you like that on our first
Yeah, I
paper,
was
and
gonna say he liked
I
it.
think it does make it easier um to explain the why, right? So
Yeah.
then the initial question is like, we make this recommendation because, as you
Yeah.
see, but like I feel like it makes it easier. So I like
Yeah.
having it that way.
Okay.
I was just
Yeah.
gonna double check. Does it ask for us to break down the gaps section?
What is Sierra Plastic's biggest gap in its business model? It doesn't ask for that, but I thought I'll just take what we have on the first one because he likes the more information on there, I feel like he likes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just copy it from what we wrote before, but then we just need to like
Yep.
kind of state what's the biggest gap.
Vanessa. So Natalie, are you saying that you would take that
Yeah.
first one?
Yeah, I'll take that one.
Okay.
How did you do that? The first one where you like assign it to somebody. How do you do that in Google Docs?
Oh, it's just making a comment. So like up in the toolbar where it has like the font color and then the highlighter and then the link, and then the next one is the add the comment. So like the little chat box with the plus in it. So it's putting your cursor where you want it to pop up.
No, I'd comment. Yep. Got it.
Okay. So, and I feel like for both of these, for CR plastics, we have a ton of notes in the other document. So it's just bringing it over. So Nathan, do you have a preference on either doing cleanup on the electrical vehicle or taking the options?
Whichever one you want me to do, I really
Hmm.
it's So basically right now, all we need to do is we're gonna take over all the information from the other one and just write a recommendation section.
Yeah,
both.
for the CR plastics, for the level loading versus, I'm assuming the traditionals just keep on doing what he's doing, right?
That's what I didn't know what else to call it. Or
Yeah,
is there another
Same
word?
all, same all. Business as usual.
Yeah. Because and then the table will be our like proof of why we think the way we do. So yeah, there's 3 questions, 3 people basically. So
Yeah.
I'll take that first one. I'll pull everything over. I'll do the
Okay.
biggest gap.
Then you're adding notes. So do you want to take the level loading and traditional?
Yep, I can do that. Not an issue.
Okay. And then Becca, you can just kind of finesse the
Yeah, what we
You-
have for
EC.
the electric car. Okay. Are we gonna say end of day tomorrow? And then that will give time on Saturday to do like a final, for Natalie to do a review.
Yeah. Yep,
For me.
I'm good at that.
Okay,
Like that.
sounds good.
All right, thanks you guys. Good
Thanks,
job.
You guys
everyone.
are awesome.
Okay.
Bye.
See you next week.
Let's see.
I guess I'll be the leader for next week.
Yeah,
Does that
So
work for you, Becca? Nathan, you weren't here before, but she's getting induced a week early, so maybe.
but a week early will be first week of March.
yeah. Whatever you
So-
need, whatever we can help with.
No, it'll be good. Because then I'll take the 22nd.
Yeah, whatever is easiest or whatever you want to do.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yep, that works. And then we'll work around whatever. So, okay. Have a good night, you guys.
Sounds good. Bye.
Bye.